Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back into another cruiser chat with OTRAMM. Same as every week. No, no format, no plan. Just whatever questions you guys have, I will try to answer them. We are having snow and ice here this evening, so I may have to jump off of here early to go grab my wife. Her Prius doesn't do all that great in the snow, so if I jump off of here all of a sudden, that's why. Trying to think of what's new and going on. We got the 3FE dropped into the FJ40, but I think that was already in last week when we did chat. I got the downpipe, the stainless downpipes and cat built for it today, so I can start running exhaust. Started on a batch of exhaust. I've got two FJ62 and two 80 series stainless exhausts to build this week. So I'm working on those. Crash is working on buttoning up the engine that we had out of the 4.7 for the oil leak. We got the engine dropped back in, I guess, Friday of last week, but we pushed it outside because we had Capital Land Cruiser Club Tech Day at the shop Saturday. And thanks to everybody that showed up for that. Had a huge turnout, and it was a lot of fun. But now that that's all done and the shop space is back to normal, we've got the 100 series back inside to finish buttoning up the engine on that. And I did the last few finishing touches on the 80 series rear bumper last week. Took it to get safety inspection today, and he's picking up later this week, which will be nice. I got the blanks for the 1FZ crank holding tool. They came in today. I had them water jet cut, but the square recess for the breaker bar handle, because of the water jet taper, the breaker bar handle doesn't fit quite right. So I ordered a 1/2 inch broach so I can square that up and make it exactly a 1/2 inch so it fits a breaker bar nice and snug, so there's no issues of wearing that square drive hole out. But otherwise, the socket dimension on the inside fits well, and the two holder bolts fit well. Should have the broach here tomorrow, and then I can actually broach that and test fit it and make sure everything's all good. So yeah, we're moving right along on the crank holder project for the 1FZ. Hopefully I'll have the first 5 done by the end of the week. A couple of people have already emailed me to buy some. So hopefully I've got this project, at least the initial round of it, done this week, and I can start getting people their crank holding tools. I think this would turn out nice. I did 5 on the initial order. I think 3 of them are spoken for. I might keep one for myself at the shop, just because this is a lot nicer than the one I've been using. So yeah, there's theoretically 1 left over, and then I'll have to run another batch. So if folks are interested after this batch sells out, it takes like 2 weeks to get them water jet cut. Then I can have more in stock. Trying to think if there's anything else new and exciting. I don't think there is. So yeah, whatever questions you guys have, just let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, You were there for most of the tech day. Tech day was good. We had a big turnout. I failed to count, but I would guess 20-ish people showed up. And we got a bunch of projects done on club member trucks. Did a lot of hanging out. Yeah, it was a good day. It's exhausting. I think I got there about 8:30 in the morning, and I left a little bit after 6. But it was good. It's fun when the club comes out and hangs out at the shop, and we get to open it up to the local guys to do projects that wouldn't be so easy to do at home. But yeah, it was a good time. I'm wondering if everybody's snowed in this evening. Normally, more folks are popped in by now. Yeah. There was something else I was going to talk about tonight, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. Plans for the LX. Yeah, plans for the shop cruiser. They're always money and time dependent. Rough working plan is plasti dip it orange and black, like everything I build. Slinky suspension, underdrive high range gears, and lower low range gears for the transfer case. 4x4 labs, front and rear bumpers, some tires and wheels, destinkify the inside, and fix all the oil leaks on the engine, and probably upgrade the brakes. But I haven't decided what to use for brake upgrade yet. And of course, this all depends on me actually making enough money to buy all the parts to build the 80. And I got to finish paying for the 80 before I start building the 80. Oh, and it needs a windshield. So I got to put a windshield in it. But yeah, the plan Crash and I have been kicking around is kind of squirrel together parts through the spring, and then hit it hard the beginning of July, to theoretically get it ready to go to Coal Mine Cruiser Classic. We're shooting for that to be its maiden voyage. Oh, and I'll probably do our stainless exhaust on it. How to fix slow window roll up. I've tried to change the motors on a couple of them. It's improved it a little bit, but it hasn't made a drastic difference. The best bang for the buck I've found so far is just to clean the window runs and then lubricate them with like a silicone grease. Like they make I think it's actually sunroof track grease. But silicone grease in the window runs seems to do the best for helping the slow windows. That, and we had one a couple months ago that we put all brand new window rubbers in, and we lubricated those when we put them in, and that seemed to make the greatest change, to get good smooth non-cracked rubber in there, with a nice coat of lubricant on it. Those worked pretty well. But yeah, I haven't replaced the motors with new Toyota motors, because I haven't had anybody willing to spring for the new Toyota motors yet, but I've put like aftermarket motors. I think the last set we did were Dormans, and they didn't seem to make a huge replacement or a huge difference after the replacement. Replaced AC compressor bearing while doing a timing belt job. Everything went well, but the AC clutch will not engage, and I'm getting a blinking light. Are you sure that the clutch got plugged back in? That'd be the easiest thing. My guess is that something got hit, misaligned, when you put the magnetic, like the electromagnet, back onto the compressor body, and that you're not getting a good connection anymore. But yeah, I've never actually tried replacing a compressor bearing on a 100 series. I've tried doing it on other vehicles and just never had real good luck with it. Most of the time it's better just to get an entire compressor with the clutch, the clutch, the bearing, everything as an assembly. Because chances are if one part was worn out, the rest of it's probably pretty close as well. I've never had good luck with just doing the bearing. Should I drive in overdrive in Sequoia regularly or only use for long distance driving? I don't know. None of my vehicles are automatics, so I've never actually paid attention to what you're supposed to do. Everything I've got is stick shift. I would check the owner's manual. It should give you a definitive how and why, to use overdrive and, all the different functions of the transmission. Most of the time, I guess you click overdrive on and leave it in D, but I've never paid a ton of attention to it. And back to Porter's question, I would look real closely at where the AC signal wire is plugged in, and make sure you can't see anything visibly wrong with the clutch wiring. That would be my first place to look. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't ever had to get into diagnosing AC issues on 100. Yeah, I think I've only ever had a compressor loose of one, and that was the one we just had the engine out of. And the only reason we had the compressor loose was just because it was out of the truck. Oh, I guess another thing to look for doing the AC compressor bearing, and I don't know if this applies to the 100 series compressor or not, but I've done some where you have to change shims where the clutch plate goes over the magnet. You've got to shim it for the right air gap. If you're not shimmed right, you could possibly be either like with an air gap that's too wide for the magnet to engage, or it might be engaging all the time and it's freaking out the computer. So that may be also something to look at, is your air gap to the magnetic clutch. Center diff lock, usually it's pretty quick to engage. But I mean, it is an electric motor, and it's kind of pushing against a spring-loaded clutch hub. So if the gears aren't completely lined up when you shift, it can sometimes take a little bit till everything comes into mesh, and then the clutch lever will go all the way over. So it's not always immediate, but usually it's pretty quick. Power antenna motor on an LX450. Towards the back of the engine compartment on the passenger side, you'll see a cutout in the inner fender well, like from under the hood, and you reach back in through there to get to the antenna motor. You'll have to undo. There's like a trim ring on the outside of the fender, like where the antenna actually goes up and down. There's a trim ring there that you'll have to undo, and then I think it's a 12-millimeter bolt on the inner fender to get it out. The fun part is most of them, the antenna wire goes all the way to the radio. There's not a connection under the hood. So you've got to snake the wiring all the way through from the back of the radio to the antenna motor. If your center diff lock wouldn't lock, you might have an issue with there's a couple of switches sitting on top of the transfer case that tell the computer what's going on. Like they tell the computer that you've shifted into low range, and then they tell the computer, if the center diff lock has engaged or not. If those switches are corroded or broken, if one of them isn't sending the signal, then it either, like if the one that tells the computer that you've shifted into low, if that one's not telling the computer you're in low, then it won't try to engage the center diff lock. Or you could be engaging the center diff lock, and the one that tells the computer that you've engaged the lock isn't reading, then you won't get the light. So yeah, you've just got to go through and start checking all the electricals. And I mean, it could be a mechanical issue, but more than likely it's one of the switches not reading right. It helps. As far as I understand it, it's like a 40-60 split, front to rear through that viscous coupler. But because it's working as a differential, like if you lift a front tire, most of your traction, if not all of your power, is going to the axle with the least traction. So locking it makes it a true 50-50 split. So if you lift a front wheel or a rear wheel, you still get traction to the opposite end. So it helps in that case. If you're on fairly, firm road, not slick mud, not ice, and you're not lifting tires, it's probably not going to make a huge difference. But if you're in low traction lifting tires, then it definitely helps because it actually makes it a true 50-50 split instead of biasing it through that viscous coupler. Oh, and to Jeff's antenna question, I'm pretty sure it's the 80. There's a grommet in the side of the firewall where the antenna cable goes through, kind of behind the glove box area, that you're going to have to pop out to get the antenna cable to come through. That one can be an absolute bear because they've gotten rock hard over the last 20 some odd years, and you've got to bend and contort and twist your hand down inside the inner fender to reach it. It can be absolutely terrible. And yeah, if you were on ice and hills, I can see where not having the center diff lock would be fun, because it's going to try to send all your power to the wheel with the least traction. At least with the center diff lock locked, you're sending equal power front and rear, and then you've just got the two ends, like which tire on each end has the least traction getting power. And I am actually going to have to jump off of here. I'm going to have to go grab my wife. She is not doing well driving home in the snow in the Prius. So I'm going to go grab her in the almighty Subaru. So yeah, sorry to cut this week short, but I will be back next week. Same time, same place. But yeah, I'm going to go snag my wife, and I will catch you guys next week. Sorry for jumping off of here early.